to the show and fall at your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that plane and buy anything. More than just a podcast for you.
To another edition of the 10-4 YouTube show. This week we have episode 5, and we have our normally scheduled panelists. We want to say good morning to Randy and Lamont Ramsey and Angela Pride. So we're going to jump right in because we got a lot of questions that are really relevant to people who are looking at football this year. So question 1, what is the difference between a committable offer, a non-committable offer, and a letter of intent?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So a committable offer means when that coach gives it to you, no matter what, you can sign it and they'll take you on that team. Non-committable is what we're seeing a lot of today that drives me crazy. Coaches throwing out verbal offers, and when the kid calls and say, "Hey, coach, I want to take that offer. I want to accept that offer. I want to come to your school," they'll do something. They won't tell him he can't take it, especially if it's early. They'll say, "Well, hold on, just hold on a minute. Let me get back with you," all that. So that's a non-committable offer, because if the coach really wants you, it don't matter when you call to take it. They're going to let you accept the offer, and they're going to put you on the team and get you in already in the mix. The letter of intent is something that all of them have to sign anyway when they go. Back 2009, when my older son came out, everything was still paper like the old days. When they gave you an offer, you got a piece of paper saying, "Hey, you got an offer from University of Cincinnati, University here. This offer includes this, this, this." And you knew it was in black and white exactly that you had a true offer. It had come from the athletic department and all that. Nowadays, it's so many non-committable offers that it's just like, man, why even put a non-committable offer out there? All you do is you get the parents and then not explain it to the parents. So that's what the difference is for me anyway.
All right, I'll step onto that. I'm glad to be back in 10-4 world. Been on the road for a minute, but it's funny how everything is non-committable offers. Everything. I had a 5-star last year from the state of Florida. Was shaky about his intent to go to the school that he was going to because they had a lot of issues going on. 5-star. He decided not to go to that school, or wanted not to go to that school, and check his options. Every other top-notch school in the country said we were too cool, we couldn't take you. But all those schools had sent so-called committable offers. Like a lot of these offers that people getting, it's just to get you on campus. It's just to get your interest, to try to build a relationship with you. So a lot of people, they want to go on the internet and say, "I'm blessed to have 25 offers. I'm blessed to have that." Those are not serious offers. As parents, for one thing, if that coach, that head coach, that coach, your position coach is not contacting you, it's probably not a committable offer. I mean, that's a conversation you want to have with them when they offer you, "Can I commit right now?" You know what I'm saying? Even by you saying you can commit right now, they still can hit you up. I had so many people that I know through the years get kicked out. Not kicked out, but what's the word?
You got bumped.
Huh?
They got bumped because they
got bumped. Yeah, some knowing and some not knowing. Sometimes they'll bump you and won't even tell you. It's crazy. And as far as the letter of intent, it's kind of, I've heard of people that didn't sign those, and I heard of people that signed them and got out of them. I don't know the process right now of how you do that, but I have heard of that. But it's crazy the way they set this up for the player to have no control, but the school to have everything.
Yes.
Well, and for me, I was going to say, I learned real quick. I'm a quick study, but I didn't know anything. There's no classes on this. Like, parents don't know. When my son came to me, his first offer was Virginia Tech. When he came to me, he was like, "Mom, I got an offer." And I was like, "What?" The first thing I said was, "What does that mean?" Like, well, what does it mean? Like, the dude didn't talk to me. He talked to like a side coach that, he ended up tweeting my son or whatever, because social media now has changed the whole game from, like Lamont said about, everything used to be paper. Well, now people are offering these kids through Twitter, and it means absolutely nothing. So my first thing was, let me talk to the coach. I need to know what this means for my son. Right. Long story short, he had gotten some other offers. When my son was ready to commit, Virginia Tech started talking about some gray shirt. And for lack of a better word, I cussed him out, basically, and told him, you're a clown, and how dare you, offer my son. We done came on campus. We had fallen in love with the campus and this, that, and the other. Now you talking about a doggone gray shirt. So anyway, that all worked out because kids also commit and they decommit. But who knows this stuff going in? Who has the playbook for how this is supposed to work? Same thing with the national letter of intent. So signed that. I had looked it over when my first son signed, only for my second son to sign, and his scholarship said year by year. Had no clue of that. Somebody else kind of pulled my coattail on that because, again, Power 5 school for one, HBCU for another one. They renew my baby boy's scholarship every year. And I just think that that's crazy, because if that school gets someone else in that they like, and maybe your son isn't as productive, et cetera, they reserve the right to say, we're not going to renew his scholarship. I got a kid dealing with that right now, where they're trying to offer him partial money when he's been on a full ride for the last 3 years, but he hasn't been productive. And that's the reason. They'll give you all kinds of crap, but that's the reason, because they got somebody else basically that they want to give that scholarship to instead of him.
So I'll chime in. I would say this is a great moment for parents, because COVID has forced coaches to actually put things out in writing. So if you want to know if you got a non-committable offer, just go to the internet. For example, the University of Illinois, their official scholarship offer that they have floating around for a particular athlete, it says that it's subject to, which means it's conditional, that their kid has to meet all NCAA eligibility requirements, all the admissions requirements of the school, and it's contingent upon availability of scholarships remaining at your position and our approval of your medical status. So if you get that as a parent, it's great to celebrate, but they're telling you that this is not a guaranteed scholarship, that there are some things that you have to meet. And bullet point 3 for me as a parent would be a red flag. And I say this on the show because there are tons of schools that put their official offers out on the internet, particularly on Twitter, because of COVID, so that kids felt special. And you can go and you can have multiple examples. Alabama has one out. There are just lots of schools. So you can look at it and know that it's not a committable offer because it's got a caveat. The key difference for me is that the national letter of intent is actually legally binding. It's binding. It has like the fact that you have to be able to get onto the campus as a student. It guarantees your financial aid. It has provisions in there to let you know what do I do if I decide I don't want to sign this and I want to go to another school. It has penalties for if you sign early for another sport. So all that's laid out there, and parents need to know that one is just a piece of paper and the other is a contract.
Let me ask you something then, because we went through this. My son signed with a group of 5 school, my older son did, and he signed the national letter of intent. And when you sign that first national letter of intent, they have you for a year. But then after the year's up, you've met your stipulations of that national letter of intent, that coach can still block you from going to the school. I know that. We went through it personally. We transferred schools, but we had to appeal all the way to the NCAA, who dragged their feet on getting back to the appeal to halfway through the season. And you know that for a fact. He had to sit out at the other school, cost him a chance to play the position he wanted to play because they waited to halfway through the season. Then the coach was like, well, we already ingrained, we've been winning, can't just yank him out and but you're too athletic to be sitting here. You're going to play this position for us. My son, being how he is, just said, okay, cool, I just want to play, jumped in that position, and, he really never got to play what he was going to college to play because the other school he transferred from yanked him around. And we hear it every year how they're blocking him transferring to this school or that school. And we went through it. Then the next year, the same coach's son signed a national letter of intent to the University of Cincinnati, seeing that they signed another guy at his position better than him, more highly ranked, and they let him out before he ever played one down. Then he wasn't even there a month. He signed the same letter, and they let him out. And he went to play for his dad at the Group of 5 school that my son had transferred.
So this is where you want to read your national letter of intent, because what you're talking about is the 4-for-4 transfer process. Your kid that signed a letter of intent but didn't play it down at that one school and transferred to another. In the fine print, the 4-for-4 transfer process is laid out in there, and then the 4-to-4 or the JUCO process, that's an exception, and exceptions are subject to NCAA rules, but that's in there.
I understand all of that, Ms. Jamesetta, and I know 4-to-4 here, but if you go 4-to-4 FBS to 4-to-4 FCS, there should not be any stipulations. Go back and read that, because he's
I agree.
A level.
I agree.
But the coach still held him out, and his son went 4-to-4 lateral move.
I totally agree.
So it's a buddy system, whether we want to say it is or it isn't.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
8 years later, I run into that coach, and he said, man, I just want to apologize to you guys. It didn't hurt my son in the end, because he still got his degree and all that kind of stuff, and he was still on for a ride. But it left a bad taste in his mouth, like Miss Angela said. You want to say some things to him, you know. So
I agree, because the exception process is always, in my opinion, who you know or who they like better.
Right.
So let me get one more plug on that one. So like the one of my biggest things, pet peeves for parents, is they got to really be weary of the fact that if a coach don't want to talk to you, they want to talk to your kid, and they don't want to necessarily take the time to talk to you, they're gonna tell them anything. And then the next thing they got to really understand is that NCAA hotline and getting online and looking at the rules. From what y'all was just saying, you got to look at those rules to know your rights in this recruiting process. If you can't do that, you just hurting your kid. I just want to plug that in.
Hey, Randy, let me tell you something real quick. So we did every step by step. So we appealed to the school that he was leaving. They had this kangaroo court, is what I call it, where you come in and you meet with the athletic director, you meet with the coach, you meet with some kind of mediator for the athletic department. And me and my son sitting on this side. Well, I knew we were screwed when we walked in, because we walked in, and the coach was there, the athletic director was there, and this guy was there. And the guy had on the same championship ring that my son had on where they won the season before. So I was like, oh, man, we're screwed. This is just a formality that we're going through this right here. And it came back so quick that, well, we're denying it. We want him to stay here. Found out after my son went on and left, found out the reason they wanted him to stay was their #1 quarterback had got caught up in some NCAA violations. And instead of them just telling us, hey, we want him to stay, we're going to lose our quarterback, you know, they went all around the circle and around the bush and tried to just stop him from going somewhere else to play.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that leads us to our second question. Should college coaches be able to give non-committable offers? Should students be able to sign a letter of intent as soon as an offer is presented?
Should college coaches, well, go ahead.
For me, you know, I'm all about the athlete. You know, anything, it's just like, and again, it's a different topic, but I'm not for this early signing period stuff. Because what happens is it hurts the kid. Like, so if you're going to commit right away or sign a national letter of intent right away, how do you truly know that this is the best fit for you? And it's a lot of schools, like I said, who force kids. Like, so when you say committable offer, okay, unless you really know, which 9 times out of 10, parents don't. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, the kids don't, because you haven't had a chance to research their scheme, you haven't had a chance to research their school, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as it doesn't lock the kid into a decision that's forcible, if that makes any sense. Like, don't force my kid to make a decision. Like, I'm all about having options. You know, I don't like hey, I'm blessed to get my 25th offer and this, that, and the other, because 9 times out of 10, they don't know that those offers really aren't real offers. But at the same time, don't say one and done. Don't say, oh, well, we want you to commit right now, and then you really kind of locked into something where you can't go and explore other things, because things change a lot more than they stay the same. So I just need parents to really do their due diligence and understand what it means when you are locking a under 18-year-old in many cases into a situation that may or may not be good for them.
I'm for taking away the power of the school. Just take away the power of the school. If you offer, I should better sign that joint right then and there if I want to. So it ain't no fake offer. Don't offer me and then wait for the quarterback at California to see if he gonna do something. No, if you offer, I should better do it now. I should better do it later. I should have all the power I want to as a player, because at the end of the day, these groups of players make billions of dollars for these colleges. So like, I'm about the power. Whatever empowers the player, that's what I'm for. You know, that's me.
Same here. Same here. Whatever empowers them, because I think the school has had power for way too long, even with these fake offers, even with this, you know, I know a school here in South Carolina, you know, if you commit to their school, they tell you can't go somewhere else. I had the same problem with Virginia Tech with my son. So we were visiting Virginia Tech, and I was headed up to Maryland because Maryland had offered my son as well. And I got on the phone with the head coach. I've said a lot of things to a lot of head coaches in D.C. that most people probably wouldn't say. My son was so scared and so nervous in that car. But I said, first off, y'all ain't paying for my gas. Second off, y'all still offering people at his position, but you telling me that I shouldn't be going to Maryland because I'm committed to you? No, I'm going to see what I can see, and I'm going to make sure that my son is making the best decision for him, period, point blank. If you want to take your offer off the table, feel free to do that, because I'm not turning my car around, and that's how it went. So the empowerment of the player, I'm with you, Randy. You know, let's empower the player and take some of this power away from the schools, because they're basically screwing kids left and right, and there's really not a whole lot that you can do about it. When they pull these offers, when they tell the kids, oh, no, we're full of that space now, even though they put the offer out there, there's nothing that kid can do in most cases.
I agree with you both. The only thing I would say is I am for the early signing period. I am for, if you give an offer, it should be committable right then and there. Send the paperwork, let him sign it if he wants to. The reason I'm for, and I know this is kind of going off a little bit, but the reason I'm for the early signing period is because the longer you go, they start bumping kids, seeing who's going to fall to them, and they're bumping kids out. So it's not really for that 5-star guy, because they'll wait for him. Like my youngest son was a 5-star, and they said no matter when you want to sign, your spot's here. So he had like 13, 14 schools just sitting there waiting for him to pick which one he wanted to go to. Even some he told he wasn't coming. He said, I'm not coming there. They still sent the paperwork over. So, you know, it's the guy who's the mid-level guy who they'll bump down at the end. So I'm all for having an early signing period, but I'm also for the kids are 17 and 18. So they should be able to transfer at least one time without any penalties, on them, because all they show you when you go here is all the good stuff. They don't show you the bad stuff. They don't show you that you're behind 22 quarterbacks and only one of you can play. Yeah. They don't show you. So they should get at least one freebie, because I mean, they're 17 and 18. We make mistakes. So, you know, they get hyped up and the little girls show them around and all this. I played college football. There was a girl there that showed me around. I was ready to pick that school that day. So, you know what I'm saying? You could have made that same mistake. So I'm just big on, I think they need the early signing period, but the kids need to have an out at least one time. And you can put it before their junior year or whatever, but they need to have no questions, not this little portal stuff where you go in. Let them go out and go to the school and talk to the school themselves and say, hey, you know, it ain't working here. You know, do you have a spot for me here? Let them do their own stuff. Let us as parents help them, not put them in some portal and the coaches can talk to whoever they want to talk to. You know, that doesn't work either for me.
James, I got one more before you drop the signs. I got one more. I know you about to drop the signs on everything. I know how you do. Hold on. So check this out. So like, once you're there, you're there, man. Once you're there, you're there. At the rally we had this weekend, I had coaches that was there that couldn't speak. You know, if you look on Twitter, it's no player speaking nothing. It's no coaches speaking nothing. And there's really no AD speaking nothing with all the stuff that's going on with the Big Ten. Because once you're there, you're in that system. You can go rogue if you want to, but it's different things that happen if you go rogue. But once you're there, you're there. So it's important. That process of recruiting is important. It's so, so important. I remember, quick story, I remember Urban Meyer. He thought after I forgot what the name of that thing that's in Oregon, man. I can't remember the name of it. It's a something big in Oregon that you go to. So after Sean went there,
the Nike thing.
The Nike, the opening. So after the opening, Urban Meyer thought Sean was gonna shut his recruit down. We wasn't gonna take no business, none of that stuff. And so he called me while I was at work. You know what I'm saying? And then the thing about parents, you got to stop being so elated when these coaches call you because you see them on TV. They just regular people making money just like you, and you got to treat it as such. So he called me and he was mad. He was like, "Why are you doing all these visits? Why are you going to Alabama? Why are you going to Michigan? Why are you going to Florida? All this stuff." I said, first of all, man, I don't have the money you have, bro. Like, this is going to be the last time me and my son and my wife, my family have a get together to go see all these great games and stuff like that. Even millionaires sometimes can't see all these games that we're going to see at the level we're seeing them at. I said, we're going to take our visits and stuff. And so we got to the point going back and forth and to the point where we couldn't talk no more. So that night, he had every coach that recruited Sean. I had everybody in my family. We didn't have a Zoom call because I don't think Zoom was out then, talking. And he was like, well, I don't mind you going here and I don't mind you going here. I said, Coach, Urban Meyer. I was like, Coach, because he's a great psychological person. I was like, you don't have him now. I'm still the parent right now. I'm going to be the parent when he's there, but you're going to have all the control in the future, you know. But we're going to go on these visits and enjoy ourselves and still stay committed to you. And if that's what you want to do is give our commitment away because of the fact we're going on these visits, that's what you choose. So what happened was he was like, you can go on all the visits you want to, but I just can't let you go on a mission. And it pissed me off. I was mad. So I went and talked to some people, some parents above me that had more information than me. And they made me understand that, like, losing Sean to Michigan would be just terrible. So Michigan did a lot of stuff for Sean or whatever. They even brought their whole team out here to have a camp at the school. And I was like, you know what? I won't do that. Because there's something about this Michigan-Ohio State rivalry I didn't understand at the time. And but the long story short is that the recruiting process is so important, and the players need to take advantage of every moment they can to get all the information they can before they commit to a school. Or if they commit to a school, don't stop. Still keep getting information, but have the advantage on your side. Go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, I was looking at, like, if there was a number every year that they actually.
And the parents got to stop being, you know, that's hard to do. We have to educate ourselves because initially you don't know that. When your son is getting a call from Urban Meyer, from Nick Saban, and like you said, you're at the point where they're calling you. For me, I was so starstruck. I was just living my best life through it all, just thinking it's all fun and games. But that's where we come in. That's where the people that are listening to this podcast really needs to understand that you got to get some business about yourself, because I've seen way too many mamas in particular that go crazy about this stuff, and you're not serious. See, I went toe to toe with several head coaches that had offered my son, and like I said, my son was like, "Mama, chill," and I was like, "Boy, I got your best interest." I knew that before I even knew the business of recruiting. I knew that this is my son. I got his best interest at heart. This coach is going to tell me whatever I want to hear, and this, that, and the other. And sure enough, it happened, because just like you said, Randy, once they get on that campus, guess what they quick to tell mama? Oh, we don't have to talk to you no more. We got him. And so make sure, parents, that you really understand that this is big business. And even though you might be having fun, and even though you might be doing this, ask those hard questions, put them in a situation where, you know, you let them know you are in control, at least right now, before you sign those national letters of intent. But I'm just saying, it's not easy for the parents to just be like, oh, well, you know, when they call, it's like, man, Nick Saban just called me. You know, I'm an Alabama fan, so I'm going crazy. So anyway, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, it's really interesting because last year Sports Illustrated actually did a study about this very issue, and there's an article out. It's called the Uncommittable Scholarship Offer. And what they found was that in the 8 recruiting cycles before February of 2019, just Power 5 schools alone, they had issued over 100,000 scholarship offers for all of their sports programs, but there were only 12 8,000 available slots. So that lets you know how many offers, like over 80,000 offers out there that were actually non-committable. And the funny thing was, the one parent group that I found, and there may be another one that I didn't found, but Brandon Harris in 2013, his family asked for a financial aid letter from LSU, and they got it. And the financial aid letter, what it did is it made LSU commit to giving him athletic scholarship money, but it gave him the flexibility of choosing another school. And I think that's a really good model that other parents can piggyback off of.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you for a second? Brandon Harris is different from little Joey down the street.
Oh, I didn't say, I totally agree.
So the 5-star, like I said earlier, I had a 5-star, I had a 3-star. I think Miss Angela had one at a Power 5 and one at a Group of 5 or HBCU. The group, you too, and yeah, and Randy. So the ones we have that at a Group of 5 and HBCU, we can't get the same thing because they're not willing to at that point. They're waiting for what's falling down the, I call it a funnel effect. They're waiting for see who's going to fall down, who doesn't have the grades, who does. Now Jalen, he could get whatever he want, and to the point y'all said when he gets there, he's theirs. Not in my case. I let the coaches know I'm going to be involved from day one. They thought about moving my son as a freshman. They got on the phone and called me and said, we know he came here to play this, but we need him to play this for us right now. We just want to run it by you. And I said, have y'all talked to him? He said, yeah, he's cool with just playing. I said, cool. But when I stepped out in Florida State, I went to the offices. I knew everybody in the football office from the secretary on down. And be like, Mr. Ramsey just walked in, and I spoke to every coach. So, no, you don't have mine. And I told my son, I said, hey, if you don't like how things going, holler at me. I'll handle it from there. So he was a 2-sport athlete. The reason he picked schools, he was saying, I'm running track wherever I go. He gets there, and, of course, you know how it is. We're paying for you to be here, so you shouldn't run track. He's like, well, call my dad and tell him that. They was like, all right, go on to track practice then. You know, they wasn't trying to hear that, man. You know, you told him something, and I'm going to make you stand on that. You know,
same here. I did the same thing, Lamont. I did the same thing with my son being a 2-sport athlete. That was the one thing I asked every coach. I said, you know, even if he just runs for a year, I want him to definitely run at least for a year to see if he can compete with these boys on this level. And I got what I wanted. And when they were giving my son flack, I called the head coach and told him, I said, hey, man, you told me my son was going to be able to run. But since my son, they haven't let anybody else run. And it's because, like you said, you have to stand on your word. But one question I have for you, Lamont, did you have them sign, had them sign the release waiver or whatever to say that your son, that they could talk to you on your son's behalf? Because a lot of times when you don't have that paperwork, they are not obligated to talk to you.
No,
you didn't?
No, we didn't sign anything. I'll tell you this. So one of the coaches that were at Florida State, when my son picked Florida State, it was every coach that came there was recruiting him from another school. Then they all came to Florida State. So we had built a relationship, and like I said, my older son had went through it too, and some of those coaches were there. So we kind of had built personal relationships going into my youngest son's thing, and they didn't want to, I guess, break that personal relationship that we had built over a 4 or 5 year period, not just coming in for my youngest son. So and that made it easy. And then Jimbo Fisher was pretty much a man of his word on everything that he said when he got there, you know, as far as track and stuff. He did try to say, well, you're missing off-season conditioning. And I was like, dude, go and tell him you're running with some of the fastest dudes in the country every day and you're in shape. But then my son said, I'll just go over there to practice one day and kill everybody. And that's what he did. He went over, dominated the practice. He said, man, going back to track, and that was the end of it. So he just wanted to make sure he was in shape, but the communication was always there between all of us. So I just, Miss Cleveland know me. I'm going to be in the middle of it. I'm going to let you know how I feel. So like it or not, I'm going to take control of it however I think.
So before we go to the next question, I want to take this moment to have our listeners clearly understand what you are hearing is proof that the recruiting process is not the same for all athletes. It is very, and so just know that and take that from this conversation.